Good afternoon from Mickey and from me from Castle Goring. The whuppies are getting so big. Tomorrow they're going to be 8 weeks old. They are adorable, but I'm afraid they're resting. So it's just going to be Mickey and me. So without further ado, I will plunge right in. Carol Wilson says, Brooklyn Beckham got married yesterday. The Harkles were not invited. William and Catherine were invited, but turned it down. Pure class. What do I think? Well, I've met the Beckhams for the blink of an eyelid. I actually would not refer to them as classy. Let's put it that way. I certainly think they're very successful. They're very stylish. They're very glamorous. He's an attractive man if you can get over the fact that he's turned his body into a very bad artwork. I don't approve, I have to tell you, of people who treat their body as a canvas instead of having a canvas on the wall like a picture. I think it's terrible, and I think that he, more than anybody, is responsible for the trend in tattooing. She's a horse of a different colour. She's quite glamorous, stylish. She at least pretends to not play to the camera. And they do mix in certain very elevated circles. And yes, their son got married to a very pretty girl, daughter of a billionaire. Not bad. And Harry and Meghan weren't asked, evidently. Well, I'm going to tell you how the royal protocol works. You are allowed to ask an inferior member of the family, then a superior member of the family. But you can't ask a superior member of the family and then an inferior member of the family. It goes by precedence. So William and Catherine are at the top of the precedence tree. And therefore, if you ask them and they decline, you're not allowed to ask anybody else. It also says a lot, but I understand, and I could be wrong, that I'm trying to find a delicate way of putting it. Anybody who supports William and who wants William and Catherine's approbation, it would behoove them to steer clear of Harry and Meghan. There are some things that don't mix, like oil and water. Let's leave it at that. It goes to show how Harry and Meghan have completely blotted their copy. Sue Ann Mishke says, Lady Colin Campbell, question, then 5 stars. Part 1. Princess Diana raised millions in big block capitals for charities, and she gave all the money raised for charities to the charities. Why won't her son has been act with the same class, decorum and integrity his mother had. Is it true that has-been will be taking money from the wounded veterans at the Invictus Games? What do you think of the manner in which has-been deals with charities? Then, part 2, I understand that has-been will be at the Invictus Games in order to make money with his Netflix crew. Question: will the wounded, injured and sick servicemen and women also be making money? Well, the Invictus Games, like all of these games, are not only about making money, they are about a platform for people who will be performing in the games. And remember, the Invictus Games is a rip-off of the Warrior Games in America. So it's really not Harry's original idea, but it's an idea well stolen, and I commend him for having stolen it and created what he created. Although it has to be said, it was his idea, but he didn't really do most of the donkey work. It was done by everybody else. But still, let's give credit where it's due. Will they be making money, the wounded veterans? Doubtful that they'll be making money. Do you make money out of the Olympics? Not that much. Do you make money out of Invictus or the Warrior Games? Not that much. Sometimes it even costs people money. Where this all becomes delicate, to put it mildly, is that Harry is taking a film crew from Netflix and being paid to do so. Now, prior to Harry and Meghan going commercial, when a royal was a patron and organised something like this, all the benefits accrued to the cause. None of the benefits accrued to the royal. The royal was the vehicle that made arriving at its financial destination profitably possible. Harry has managed to muscle in so that where everything would have gone to the cause, now a rather discomforting proportion will go to Harry or Archibald or whatever well they want to call it. Because the truth is, Harry and Meghan are archetypes of greed, hustling, exploitativeness, and the denigration of what true charity should all be about. I have never in my life heard of any civilized, well-placed person profiting from an association with a charity. It is regarded as scum, the lowest of the low, completely unacceptable. But that's not all. And I'm going to say this very carefully for legal reasons. There is a discomforting rumour making the rounds that not only is Harry going to benefit financially through the Netflix deal, and they're flying him over, blah-de-blah-de-blah, and he's going to be trousering a shed load of money, But not only that, but that evidently, if it is true, and I hope it is not, but I'm going to say what the rumour is, that Harry is being paid an appearance fee by the cause. So he sets up a cause to benefit veterans who have been injured in the course of their patriotic duty. And he gets a fee, an appearance fee. I mean, is he a perfume house? Is he appearing on behalf of Diorissimo, which doesn't exist, of course, only Diorissima exists? And is the House of Dior paying him an appearance fee to appear at a party or an event? This is the equivalent. I hang my head in shame if it is true to say that I have lived to see the day when any patron of a charity, and I have been patron of charities, and I have, since I was 22, raised money for charities. The idea that I would profit to the tune of 1 farthing would be so reprehensible, would to me be so dishonourable, would so demean and diminish what I was doing. I would be ashamed to look at myself in the mirror. I can only say I hope it is not true. And if it is not true, I would hope that Sunshine Sachs makes an announcement to that effect sooner rather than later, because if they don't make the announcement, it will show that it is true. I'm sorry. What Kafkaesque world, what nightmare scenario of greed, self-aggrandizement, hustling exploitativeness, and low-down behavior are we being treated to by these people? Edie says, oh, and before I come off the subject, I'll say, and whether he's getting an appearance fee or not, I violently disapprove of the fact that any money that he's getting from Netflix is going into his pocket and not the charities. That's the way things are done correctly and properly, and anything else is totally unacceptable to any civilized, thinking, conscionable person. Edie says, I just heard that Harry, patron of the Invictus Games, is getting paid by the charity to appear there. Well, he is also getting paid by Netflix to co-produce the filming of him there. Both he and Meghan will be flown by private jet and their accommodations paid for as well. Well, that's to the good. If Netflix is going to fly them there and pay for their accommodation, that is to the good. What a complete waste of flesh to take money from a charity you're patron of for an appearance when you've already been making money by filming, co-producing it. I can't believe what a slap in the face that is to the veterans who need that money. I can only pray that the veterans turn their backs to Harry and it ruins Harry's Netflix documentary. What a selfless, soulless couple these two are. Sorry. There's a reason why I'm hoarse. I'm hoarse because I have a huge problem with my back at the moment, and I am working through pain, so it's actually affecting my voice as well. So just to explain, I couldn't agree more if it turns out they're right, that the rumour is right. Will it ruin his Netflix deal? Absolutely not a chance. If they turn their backs on Harry, Netflix will simply cut it out. They'll edit it out. They will turn revilement into celebration. You wait for it. Anna Perkins says, hello, Lady C and Mickey. Mix? Anna Perkins sends to say hi. Yes, all mums need a good rest now and then. That's certainly true. With Prince Harry now to be accompanied by Meghan Markle to Invictus, do you see this? There must be a word missing. Is a demonstration of how they have both sold out for personal gain of the dollar. Yes, obviously. Obviously. What gets me is that they are monetising things that the royals and people like me have spent our whole lives doing for nothing. And they are earning money off something that they should. I mean, it is so beyond belief that words fail me. I also feel that they have discovered the 30th piece of silver which dropped from Judas's bag, picked it up and placed it deep within their own pocket. And the Bible tells us that Judas came to a very sticky end, racked by his betrayal and with guilt, weighing heavy on his shoulders. I wonder if these two are actually able to feel either of those two emotions, making them possibly even worse than the owner of the original 30 pieces of silver, who at least found his conscience in the end. What say you, Lady C? I say that if they are making money out of this, which I hope they're not, and I'm saying that for legal reasons because it appears that they are, and if they are, I think it is a scandal. I think what you say is absolutely right. They have sold themselves out. They have sold their position out. They have sold decency, charity. Charity. You're not supposed to be paid for charity. Crikey. Which bit of that don't they understand? And at least Judas had a conscience. Judas did the decent thing. Harry and Meghan, the only rope that they're going to be using is the rope to tie their bundles of cash together. Believe me, they're not going to be using it for any other purpose. Judas had a conscience. Judas, whatever his failings, showed that he was better than anybody who displays a total lack of conscience. Judas Iscariot, who has gone down in history as the greatest traitor of all time. Well, doesn't it say a lot when we have reached the pass where Judas Iscariot is an exemplar of good behavior compared to other people in the public eye? Sorry, I have to do the sign of the cross. And Doig says, can the Harkles possibly be social provocateurs? those who deliberately behave controversially in order to provoke argument or other strong reaction. Well, I don't think Harry actually, in fairness to him, displayed signs of being a natural provocateur. At least not until Meghan came along. She, I think, is one of nature's provocateurs. I think she is. And I've seen it in other people. My mother was a provocateur as well. She used to love provoking. It goes along with a personality type. It's one of the features of a certain personality type. I'm lost for words. What can I say? People like that, they are best avoided unless you can't avoid them. Well, we can't avoid Harry and Meghan because they are in our face constantly. That's the problem with people like that. They will do anything for attention. Poke, prod, provoke. GHP New York says, question, Lady C. Diana used the so-called anti-monarchist pro-republic based news media to her advantage when she was trying to smear the royal family. But at the same time, Diana was a monarchist, as her ambition was to push Charles out as quickly as possible and make William king, making her queen mother. Do you think it was ever possible for Diana to have it both ways while playing on both sides? Was she foolish to play the game? I'd love to hear your insight. Thank you. That's a very interesting question. Diana thought that the monarchy was so secure that she could shove Charles out, William would reign supreme, she would be regent because she expected the Queen to die. It's all there in the legal documents that have emerged as a result of Martin Bashir's scandalous behaviour and the BBC's. It's all there in legal documents in black and white. She thought the Queen was going to step down. She thought that Charles, if she moved Charles out of the line of succession, William would be king, she would be regent. It didn't occur to her that she might be weakening the stays upon which the monarchy stands. It didn't occur to her. Was she playing it both ways? Yes, she was. But she thought she was dealing with an unshakably secure institution. Was she foolish to play the game? She certainly was. It didn't do her any good at the end of the day. It's the single most obvious reason why not only did the Queen insist upon a divorce, but that everybody in the establishment slammed the door shut in Diana's face, except for one or two of her good friends. She realised at the end that she was stupid to have played the game. She admitted it. Did she regret it? Yes. Did she learn from it? Yes. Are Harry and Meghan learning from their variation on the game? Only to perfect it. Bobby Sue says, Lady Colin Campbell, question. You are wondering why so many people have been calling Meghan Markle Megaliar? Could it Could it have something to do with her going to the High Court and apologising for forgetting that she lied? Could that have something to do with it, do you think? I suppose, Bobby Sue, that yes, it could have something to do with it. Yes. I think maybe also the many misremembrances and post-factual reinventions in Oprah, or as the Queen put it, the variations of remembrance. That could have something to do with it as well. But I've noticed that the expression has caught on quite quickly and quite suddenly. It's really rather cute. Megaliar. Jane T says, Lady C, there is a quote from M mentioned by Benjamin Smallbrook, who evidently told Vanessa Grigoriadis of Vanity Fair, and quotation marks, I ruled with my characteristic, almost magical mix of micromanagement and moments of authenticity, exhibiting the type of spontaneous human interaction with which the royals have long struggled. End of quotes. Aye vey. Talk about a miss sugar. If presumed correct, that cannot have sat well with the Queen. This begs the question, do you think M ever wanted to fit in with the British royal family? Well, may I say that the high-flown sentiments show an awareness of her virtues that elude everybody else, but isn't it wonderful that at least one person has an appreciation of Meghan, even if she has to look in the mirror? Oh, maybe she looks at Harry as well. But she never intended to fit into the royal family more than was necessary to get the ring on her finger and start the marching and the exploitation. Her ideal scenario, and this I know from many people, was to marry Harry, change what didn't suit her, set herself up as the saviour of the monarchy, the real stylist, the real royal, the one who was going to show the world how royalty should really act. And then, after doing that and getting all the applause from all the people who were going to think how wonderful she was, she would decamp for part of the year back and forth between here and California, marching. I don't know if it strikes you as a variation of insanity and lack of scruple, but this is what it strikes me as being. Saffron Solo says, nearly everyone in Britain thought Jimmy Savile was a great guy who raised lots of money for charity. Why do people think Prince Charles would have known when no one else did? Saffron Solo, very good point. However, I'm going to read out other comments which show that other people did know. Prince Charles didn't. I certainly didn't. And the charity world was my world. As I've said before, I avoided meeting the man. I thought he was a creep, an ace creep, actually. But I certainly didn't think that he was a pervert. Nobody that I knew thought he was a pervert. And I would have known if he had a reputation of being a pervert. Campesino 10 says, well, The brave and mighty BBC that likes to attack the royal family can do a documentary on their relationship with this Savile person, connections with the police and politicians. Come on, BBC. And I'm going to address that, but I'm going to read out Yvonne Gill's comment. Johnny Rotten outed Savile decades ago, and it was covered up by the BBC. The BBC knew what was going on. And there, I think we have it. A former member of the BBC said to me only a few days ago that the BBC, to his certain knowledge, is run by MI5 and MI6. If that is true, and he worked at the BBC for decades, if that is true, they absolutely had to know that Jimmy Savile was a pervert. Why did they cover it up? Because he was popular. Because he was making them money. Because he was giving them kudos. And most likely as well, because his existence down the line could compromise the royal family and all the innocent people in the charity world who thought he was wonderful. So there could have been a cynical element to it as well. Let's wait and see. Sooner or later, the truth is going to come out. It's not going to damage us, the BBC. It's going to damage the royals and all of those aristocrats who spend time working for charity. And Mrs. Thatcher. Interesting spin, don't you think? Interesting take. Carla Lilly says, Dear Lady C, an interesting question about you came up earlier today. One day in the future, megaposer will be hustling for money after her divorce from Hazard. I like those two actually, megaposer and Hazard. I can see her taking on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here or Big Brother or whatever. Would you consider appearing with megaposer on one of those programs before turning it down flat? Think of the possibilities for catching her out to her face when she casually lies. It could be fun. What do you think? Thanks for your program as always. Love to Mickey, Aurora, Babe and Diesel. Thanks for remembering their names. You'll have to take up a TV show just to keep them in puppy chow. You can say that again. Oh, well, would I appear on a television show with Meghan Markle? Remember, shows like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here and Big Brother, you are confined for weeks. So you are imprisoned with the people you're with. And I can tell you it's not necessarily a pleasant or an agreeable experience. I'll be dead blunt. I would dislike doing it intensely, but if I were paid £5 million, I would do it. I don't think I'd do it for less. I think my peace of mind, my serenity, my spiritual well-being can be compromised for £5 million, but I don't think I'd be compromising them for less. I also said the same thing when I was asked if I would go on Big Brother. I said I'd do it for £5 million. After my experience with I'm a Celebrity, I thought if they want me, I'll they can get me for £5 million. Less than that, I don't think so. I need the money less than I need my peace of mind. However, if it's enough money, I could put up with the discomfort. I would not particularly enjoy it. I don't enjoy unpleasantness. Just because I'm good at it doesn't mean I enjoy it. You know, my father made sure that we were brought up to be good at everything we did. That's not only what we enjoy, but what we don't enjoy. I make that point for what it's worth. Sharon Kiesling says, Dear Lady C, considering our age and your connections, did you ever consider Prince Charles as a beau? Absolutely not. One or two of my friends did go out with him, and I'm not going to say who they are. They know who they are. And one or two other friends of mine were mooted as prospective brides for him. One of them made sure she got married to someone else so that she would completely not be in the line of fire. Not because of Prince Charles himself, but because you have to really be very self-abnegating, and I'm afraid I was not of the generation that self-abnegation counted. We were the generation that believed in true love. You know, my parents' generation believed that marriage was hopefully about love, if you were lucky, but it was also about suitability. And if you were a woman, you had to get married. So if you couldn't get married to somebody you loved, you better get married to the next best thing. And those were the realities of being a woman. But in my generation, we opted for true love. And unless you fell madly in love with Prince Charles, there was no way, if you were from a grand family, that you wanted the position, because you knew only too well the downside of being royal. I mean, I'll actually quote Gina Phillips, who was Prince Philip's cousin. She was mooted as a royal bride. And she said she'd sooner die than cut all those ribbons. That's how, and she was my mother's generation. That's how people like us thought. I had no interest whatsoever in being royal. None. Absolutely none. I wouldn't have wanted it. I'd have turned it down cold. And more than that, I'm not going to say. Nadia Mason says, Hi, Lady C. Love your answer to the question, why did you go on I'm a Celebrity? Brilliant. What a star you are. Thank you very much. A fantastic answer. It shows how much you love the castle. Yes, it does. I say, in my 20s and 30s, it was men. In my 40s and 50s, it was my kids. From here on in, it's castle goring. It is love. And I think you need in life to have something to love that's bigger and better than you. Also, I'm a Celeb brought you to most of us for the very first time. You're absolutely right there. Until I did I'm a Celebrity, some people knew about me, but their perception of me was always distorted by the prism of the print medium, because the print medium deliberately distorted aspects of my identity and continue to do so for decades, irrespective of the damage they were doing to me personally. And once the public saw me for themselves, all of that fell away. Not everybody liked me, but people then got an accurate opinion of me. Many people thought that I'm a really nice person, strong, and don't put up with nonsense. Other people thought I'm a right bitch, and they're all right. Because I tell you, cross me, and I am a real bitch. That's right, I am. I don't ever do anything untoward. I'm never immoral, I'm never unscrupulous, but my goodness, cross me and I will give better than I get. I'm a very good friend and I'm an equally good enemy. So the people who thought, oh my God, she's just dreadful, she's such a cow, they had a point too. Of course, had they cared to consider the fact that I'm a human being, and why should I be provoked, and why should I be bullied by 11 other members of camp? But then, of course, as far as they were concerned, it was okay for me to be bullied because I was Lady Colin Campbell. As I pointed out to the producers at ITV eventually, I said, this has gone on for 2.5 weeks, this abuse of me by Tony Hadley and Duncan Ballantyne, and if it continues for another 20 minutes, I'm calling in my lawyers, because had I been a working class girl made good and those two been lords, you would have shut this down 2 weeks ago, but you've kept it going for the entertainment of the public, because you know only too well that in Britain, the one group of people who can be trashed without any consequence is the aristocracy. I said, well, I put up with it long enough and I'm not putting up with it 1 second longer. Shut it down. Within 20 minutes, they offered me to walk with my fee intact, which I did. So, anyway, to resume the question. You mentioned once that you were close friends with Jimmy Mancham's wife, the ex-president of the Seychelles. I would love to hear more of this. My mother is from the Seychelles and we had family killed in the coup. Were you friends around this time, before Albert Rene and his henchmen stole the islands? Love to you, Mickey and the Whoppies. Well, I met Kate, who's Lady Mancham, Jimmy's widow. I met her in November 1975 at New Zealand House. She was working on the evening news diary, and I was there for an event at which I was on the committee, a charity event. And she was the first journalist that actually treated me as if I had been or ever was and still maybe was a human being. All the others had treated me as if I was a thing. And let me tell you, it's not pleasant. And I warmed to her. And that's how I met Kate. She was still, if I remember, yes, she was still with Mike Bowlby, her first husband. Then Jimmy came over for the Queen's Silver Jubilee. And while he was here, this was 1977, while he was here, Albert Rene who was his prime minister and a communist, effected a coup and, yes, stole and ravished the country and turned it into a nightmare scenario and had hitmen out after Jimmy for decades. I can tell you this as a fact, because when we all used to go out for dinner, Jimmy's security people made sure that he was always seated with his back against the wall so that he could see what was going on. Disgraceful what Albert Rene not only did to the country, but to Jimmy. And I met Jimmy once. He and Kate met. Kate, she was Catherine Olsen. Her writing name was Catherine Olsen. She's ravishingly beautiful, even now, but she was drop-dead gorgeous in her 20s and 30s. She looked like Jacqueline Bisset. She had auburn hair, green eyes, and really just ravishingly beautiful and very sexy with it. Everybody said it. Men and women noticed how sexy she was. Very stylish as well. She's Australian, by the way. And it's through her that I met Jimmy. But she met Jimmy when she went to interview him. And they clicked, and that was the beginning of them being together. And they stayed together from then until he died. And he had a wonderful state funeral. She was there. Their son Alexander was there. In fact, when Kate and Jimmy got married, they had a wonderful reception at the RAC club. And, you know, brides need to borrow things because something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. So she borrowed one of my bracelets. That's how friendly we were. She's a very good writer, and she's a very interesting woman, and she was a very good friend to me. And Jimmy was one of the kindest, most generous people you could have wanted. It's a pity that there was the revolution, because Jimmy is the person who deliberately put the Seychelles on the map as a tourist venue, knowing that that was the way forward for its prosperity. And Albert Rene absolutely ruined not only Jimmy's life, but the Seychelles for many years. And we're going to wrap up with something that I would have preferred not to have to address, but I'm addressing it out of respect to several of my viewers who are also viewers of Neil Sean. I'm just going to take a few comments and I'm going to run through them. Min Delaney says, I was disappointed that Neil Sean made a slight against Lady C. He was rude and he has edited out the snide remark for all those trying to find it. It was along the lines that he's a reputable reporter, unlike Lady C, who trades off being connected and sits in a castle surrounded by her dogs. It was ridiculous of him to say that. You should apologise, Neil. Well, it wasn't only ridiculous, it was impertinent, and it was classist. You know, snobbery works both ways. And I thought it was an outrageous comment, and several people pointed it out to me. Several people also pointed out another comment that he made, implying that I didn't know what I was speaking about when I said something about what Prince Philip said to Prince Harry about Meghan Markle being a showgirl, and he actually put it in a context that was completely ludicrous. And I thought it was, when I checked, I discovered that, because several people brought it to my attention, that he had indeed made those comments. Well, he promptly took them down, evidently, once I swung into action. And I'll tell you why I swung into action. Because I have been in the public eye for 50 years, and I don't like, by and large, the press, because I know how nasty they can be. Now, I'm not saying Neil Sean is nasty. I don't know the man, I've never seen his programme, and I don't intend to see it ever. Thank you very much. What I will say, though, is how dare he try to denigrate me when, in terms of YouTube, we should be at least colleagues, and therefore he should not be taking swipes at me. But of course, there's a type of journalist that can't resist taking swipes, and he has shown himself to be one. And I'll tell you something, I'm the one who's been in the public eye for 50 years. I'm the one who's actually had to put up with having my life severely distorted by the lies of the press. People don't know what it's like. I know what it's like, and I know how to combat and shut things down. And who doesn't like it doesn't have to like it. I'm not going to be victimized by anyone unfairly. It's not going to happen. And who doesn't like it is entitled to not like it. But I'm equally entitled to protect myself. I don't go around attacking people like that, and I'm not going to be attacked by them. It's as simple as that. Marianne McNair says, Lady C, Neil Sean is no rat pack reporter. He is a very reputable reporter. I'm very surprised you have not heard of him. If you have never heard of him or listened to him, how can you make that judgment? Seems very harsh to me. He's very respected in royal circles and media industry. You should check him out. Marianne McNair, thanks for your comment. I'm not checking him out any more than I've already checked him out. I don't care how respected he is. All I care about is the fact that he took 2 nasty swipes at me, both of which were unfair and untrue, both of which were trying to puff himself up at my expense while denigrating me. I didn't like it then, I don't like it now, and I'm not ever going to like it. So that's all there is to be said about it. He is entitled to your respect if he has earned it. He's entitled to my disrespect having earned it, and he's got it. Jacqueline C. says, are you not aware that Neil Sean made some uncalled for snarky remarks about Lady C on one of his recent videos? I had never heard of him until coming across his videos on YouTube recently. And why would I have heard of him? I'm sorry, I don't mix in that world. My connection with royalty has nothing to do with their public life. Sorry, I'm not going to be trailing after them like some baggage attendant in a train of baggage in a Napoleonic war train. That's their role. Mine is not, and I am not apologizing for it. And quite frankly, I resent the fact that I am supposed to be putting up with people being offensive about me when I wasn't offensive about them. Excuse me, what gives him the right? And there's another reason why I did it, for what it's worth, why I came out the way I did. Because he's not the first, he's the second. And their raison d'etre may be their careers. My raison d'etre is not anything to do with the public eye or the public. There's a huge difference. Marianne McNair says, Jacqueline C., I'm not aware of that. Can you tell me which video? Min Delaney says, Neil Sean has since edited his video. I saw it. Very ridiculous of him. Of course he edited it, because having taken the swipes and he was going to build himself up at my expense. Build himself up at someone else's expense, not mine. I learned a long time ago the way to make sure that you are the ideal victim is to roll over and allow people to ravish you. Nobody's going to be allowed by me to ravish me. Absolutely not a chance. In any encounter, they will find they come off the worse, not me. Thistle and Doug says, I left Neil Sean a comment too. I just went back to re-watch the episode and his remark has indeed been edited out. Right at about the 39-second mark, you will notice a slight glitch in the video. I enjoy both Lady C and Neil, by the way. And may I say, I am delighted if you enjoy his videos or anybody else's videos as well as mine. I'm not asking anybody to not look at his videos or anybody else's videos. I'm simply demanding that the man makes absolutely sure that he doesn't lie about me and victimize me. It's as simple as that. And who doesn't like it, I'm awfully sorry, is not getting an apology out of me. I'm no willing victim. Unlike most people, I was victimized from I was very young, and I know how to avoid being victimized, and I know how to deal with bullies and nasty people taking swipes at me. And if you don't like the way I do it, you don't have to. But I'm not changing the lessons of a lifetime that have seen me flourish instead of being destroyed, because that was the intention. And I am not prepared to collude in my destruction. As simple as that. And who doesn't like it doesn't have to like it. But they're not going to get me to change at 72. And I'll tell you better. If people expect that their lack of knowledge about somebody who spent a whole lifetime being abused by people, because I was abused by people growing up. Do you think, how do you think it was to grow up the way I grew up? I mean, give me a break. Use your imagination, all of you who are busy hopping on the Neil Sean bandwagon, defending him for being a snide little bully. Excuse me. I know what it's like to have been bullied, and I'm not prepared to put up with it. And who doesn't like it doesn't have to like it. And who thinks I'm ranting? Yes, I'm ranting for a very good reason. You may not see that it's a good reason, but I know it's a good reason. Because as I pointed out to Justin Walford, when he said to me, Justin Walford, incidentally, was the legal manager of Express newspapers. And after Eve Pollard tried to destroy my reputation and my success when I wrote Diana in Private, the Princess Nobody Knows, and I took her on and won. Yet another journalist who thought, oh well, she's a grand public figure. I can just trash her any way I please and she's going to have to put up with it. I didn't have to, I didn't put up with it, and she's the one who was out of pocket and out of a job at the end of the day. And Justin said to me, oh, you know, Lady Colin, at the end of the case, he said, we severely underestimated you. You are one of the most formidable opponents I have ever encountered. I said, Justin, don't tell me. Tell everybody else on Fleet Street. Because I'll tell you, I want people to know. Because they think, oh, she's attractive, she's slight, she's a woman, she's privileged, she's the ideal victim. Well, I'm not the ideal victim, and I make it my business to let people know I'm not the ideal victim. And if it's unpleasant to observe, don't look, because I'll tell you, it's a hell of a lot more unpleasant to live through. And I don't intend to live through it for 1 second longer than I have to from any one of these snarky journalists. Ilana Million says, I watch all of Neil Sean's videos and cannot recall him ever saying anything disparaging of you, Lady C. You both approach things in very different styles, which is wonderful. He isn't the kind of person who attacks others in his videos. Thank you, Ilana Million, but he did attack me. And he didn't do it once, he did it twice. Had he done it once, one might have had a different view. But doing it twice, I'm afraid it's starting to establish a habit. And I wasn't prepared to allow him to establish a habit at my expense. Let him find another victim. Savoira Paul Ladsing says, exactly. It sounds like someone is trying to cause trouble. That's very interesting, because he could well have been fed information by somebody to cause trouble. Well, it's not trouble that I am going to be suffering from. It's trouble that they're going to be suffering from. I'm afraid when people trouble me, they discover that the trouble is going to be rather bigger in their disinterest than in mine. Annie Mars says, Dear Lady C, I've listened to Neil Sean's vlog again, and he didn't even mention your name. He also said, no, he didn't need to, my dear. He didn't need to. You tell me how many other people sit in a castle surrounded by dogs. He also said that the rumours about Prince Philip and Pat Kirkwood were baseless. He now says it. He didn't say that at the time. He's always very respectful to everyone, even the Harkles. Well, he wasn't to me. So I'm not sure how your commentators have decided he was taking a pop at you. Because he was. They did. Several of them said it, and he's erased it. He really wasn't. He was. And I feel quite sad about this. Well, I'm glad you feel sad, because I'm not asking you for a second to stop viewing him. He's welcome to as many views and as many viewers as he wants. I wonder if you could look into this, because I know that you are always fair and honest. Thank you very much. I am always fair and honest. Even when I become hot under the collar, I never cease being fair. Rationality never, never, never deserts me. Nor does dispassion. No matter how passionate I am, I remain intellectually dispassionate at all times. That's fortunately because I was properly brought up and my mind was properly schooled. Thank God there were some virtues to my upbringing. And yes, it is sad, but he did it. and he suffered the consequences. And am I embracing his guilt? Not for a nanosecond. He did it, and that's all there is to it. And who doesn't like it, I'm afraid, doesn't have to like it. But I'm not budging. You know, I learned a long time ago, stand up for yourself because nobody else is going to stand up for you. And why would this man have decided he was going to take a pop at me? More than likely because, well, I prefer not to speculate. Let's leave it at that. I have my own interpretation. Tina Griffiths says, Lady C, I believe you are being played or pitted against each other because I watch Neil Sean almost religiously and he never has said or attributed anything ugly or unpleasant about you. Please be careful who tells you what. Thanks for all your wonderful videos and love to Mickey and her beautiful babies. Love to you as well. Thank you very much, Tina Griffith, and I will conclude with this by saying I wasn't being played. Maybe Neil Sean was being played. Maybe Neil Sean stepped into a scenario inadvertently. I wasn't being played. They were, because everything that was reported back to me by various sources turned out to be true. I wasn't being played. He maybe was being played. He can consider his sources and he can decide for himself, but I don't wish to have anything more to say on the subject. I don't wish to meet the man. I don't wish to have any further interaction on this subject whatsoever from now until eternity, ad infinitum. So on that note, I will say, I hope this clears it up. Yes, I know many of you are fans of Neil Sean, and good. I'm not discouraging you from being. He could well have blundered into something. I'm prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not prepared, however, to give him a free pass at my expense. So, on that note, I'll say I thank you very much for your input. I hope you have enjoyed this. Oh, maybe not this last bit, but the rest of it, hopefully. And if you have liked this, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and keep the questions coming in. Thank you very much. God bless and goodbye.